Thank you for listening to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please support the show by subscribing to and leaving a 5-star rating for the show on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, and any of your favorite podcast platforms. You can also support the show by going to our website, blackandgoldhockey.com, where there's always exciting articles by the B&G writing staff. While you're there, don't forget to click on the Fanatics.com banner for a great sports fan shopping experience.
Hey, you done yet? We gotta start the show.
Behind the net, the Anderson, Allred! On the Allred! Allred from the Boston Bruins!
30 seconds left in the period. The Bruins are shorthanded. Ray Bourque from the face-off circle to the right of Reggie Whitman. Fired it down, and Whitmore blew it.
Did he ever?
Marchand to Bergeron, the drive, save, rebound, he's loose, Sagan kicks him loose, Bergeron scores! Patrice Bergeron, with the point of the dagger in their throats, they ripped it out into Roll's hands, and kill the beast! The Boston Bruins have won it after being 3 down in the third!
The Black and Gold Hockey Podcast is powered by BetOnline.ag and in partnership with the Black and Gold Production Sports Media Company. This is Season 6, Episode 261, and we kindly ask that you please subscribe to our weekly Bruins Hockey Talk on all worldwide audio podcast platforms and video content on our related Black and Gold Hockey Podcast YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mark Allred, and we are back. I'm back. Due to technical difficulties, we did not end up using the audio with co-host Heather Ingerson. So to make up for the loss in the week, we did record a roundtable Bruins hockey talk discussion with some really cool and passionate Boston Bruins fans, but also podcasters and writers in the hockey world. We had Andrew Taverna from blackandgoldhockey.com. We had Kevin O'Keefe from the Beehive Hockey Podcast. And we also had Dom Tiano on, and he writes for domhockey.com. And we just had a really good roundtable discussion about so many different things. So hopefully you do enjoy that. We will be back next week with Heather on a regular scheduled programming. But for now, we will listen to this roundtable discussion. But before we listen to that roundtable discussion, we do have to talk about show sponsor BetOnline.ag. BetOnline.ag would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline.ag remains the number one spot for all sports wagering action for 2022. New year and new update desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code CLNS50 to get started. That's CLNS50. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. All right, as previously mentioned, we do have a roundtable going on right now with some passionate Boston Bruins fans, writers, and podcasters. It's going to be a lot of fun because I really respect all these gentlemen. And we have Andrew Taverna from blackandgoldhockey.com. We have Kevin O'Keefe from the Beehive Hockey Podcast. And we have the awesome Dom Tiano from domhockey.com. And he's great job with prospects and a lot of Bruins history and one of my go-tos for a lot of solid Boston Bruins information. But why don't we get started bringing in the gentlemen first of all. Let's bring in Andrew Taverna. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, doing well. How are you, Mark?
Very good. Glad you can be here and glad you're doing good. And next up is Kevin O'Keefe, Beehive Podcast. What's up, Kevin?
Not too much, Mark. Thanks again for having me on, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And last but not least, as mentioned, it's Dom Tiano, my friend, my buddy, my pal. What's up?
What's up, fellas? Good to be here.
Yes,
But
yes.
Can't go wrong with this streak.
Yeah, I know, right? It's unbelievable. As we we record on Friday night, the Boston Bruins have played 34 games. Their record is 21-11-2. They are a nice .647 percentage. In the home record's really good, and the away record's really good. But most of all, this Boston Bruins team sits in fourth in the Atlantic and is the hottest team in the division. So I want to pull out a little Jeff Marek for you right here, because I just absolutely love that guy and the way he talks and just orchestrates a podcast. And I wish I could be as good one day. But let's paint a picture from where we were before the break and how you progressed this Boston Bruins team back then to where the lines got changed and the product on the ice that we're seeing right now in a 7-1-1 record. Let's start with Andrew Taverna. We're right around the horn.
Yeah, so I think for me, the biggest shift has just been the look of the players even, right? Like the energy, the way they're skating, I guess the buy-in to the game. I almost felt pre-break like it looked like everybody was just kind of going through the motions, feeling like they had to be there day in and day out, whereas opposed to out of this break, they all look shot out of a cannon. I mean, in and out of the lineup with COVID doesn't matter. You're in one game, Grzelcyk had 5 points that other night. Now he's out. I imagine he's going to step back into the lineup where he left off. I mean, each one of these guys has had their own barrier or issue, and they've come back looking better. And then when you've got Pastrnak and Marchand scoring hat tricks in back-to-back games, that's not a bad thing when your secondary scoring's going as well. So I just think they look like an entirely different team in a good way, as opposed to normally I feel like it's the other way around. They get that burst of energy too early in the season.
Kevin, go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. This team before the break, the break that we wish didn't have to happen, due to these unprecedented times. But the team you saw before, they didn't look motivated. They didn't really have the pep in the step that you usually see in a Bruins team that we all have grown to love to watch. But I think coming out of the break, Cassidy, with that one small move that Cassidy made with just kind of flip-flopping Pastrnak in Smith, which is something that I've been begging for, and finally they did it, and I'm so happy that they finally did, because it created...
That's the only reason I'm unhappy is because you're so damn happy, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Andrew, I appreciate that. But anyways, Bruins fans are happy because now you're seeing the most balanced scoring this team has had in a long time. It kind of created these duos. You have Marchand, Bergeron, Hall, Pastrnak, and then you right now I'd say you have Coyle and Steen because we don't know what's going on with DeBrusk yet, so we'll wait and see with that. And then that fourth line is absolutely buzzing. Bleed, a guy like that stepping in and doing what he's doing. Hello, Don Sweeney drafting. There you go. And then you also have a guy like Steen just coming in and doing what he's doing. It's great to watch. Cassidy seems like he has the room back in order. Tuukka Rask just came back. There's a lot of really good things to look forward to here, and I'm just so excited for the rest of the season.
Don, what are your thoughts, buddy?
Well, I can't disagree with anything that Andrew and Kevin said. Before I go on, I hope we talk about Jake DeBrusk a little later because I got some news for you.
Nice.
We'll break it here.
Nice.
Okay.
Again, I agree with everything that Andrew and Kevin had to say, but if we go back before the break, and I have preached this to Bruins fans for years, is to show a little bit of patience. For two reasons. One, they're an older team, and sometimes it takes time to get into things. And two, they weren't playing a lot of hockey. It's hard for these guys to, especially when you've got, 4 new bodies into the lineup. get to mesh, to form some sort of chemistry amongst players. Andrew mentioned pairs on lines as opposed to a threesome. I've been preaching that for years. You know, it's all about pairs. It's not about the threesome. You can find that third guy to mesh with Bergeron and Marchand or Pasternak and Taylor Hall. So, excuse me, everything is bang on what they had to say, but you know, I kind of expected something like this, not to the extent that we've seen it, but as they begin to play more games, that everything would mesh. And you got to add in the next man up mentality has really I mean, go back to Jakob Zboril before he got injured. It was not just his best year in Boston to date, it was his best professional year. That includes the AHL that he was having. Euro Vakanainen, which I'm sure you probably read that I just wrote, Mark.
Yep.
It's night and day, NHL to AHL. Someone will please explain that to me. They're all making a case to be in the lineup, including Oscar Steen. So the next man up mentality is going to serve them well going forward, especially when they've got so many games to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the next man up is a huge thing, especially in these times. We got the taxi squad is back, and that's been assembled, but that's more or less a lot of transactions and so on that we keep paying attention to. But still, it's good to have, because it's an effort to not postpone games anymore, because the NHL is getting into a very dangerous area when it comes to their scheduling because of that 3-week loss in February for the Olympics that the NHLers are not going to participate in now. So,
I have heard, Mark, that they might extend the season by 1 week.
Oh, really?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Could I piggyback off of one thing that Dom said? That's the, him talking about the next man up. You know, when you look at a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, and it looks like they're primed to go for a third right now, one of the biggest reasons why they've been able to do that is not only because of their great top six, which the Bruins seemingly can match, it's that next guy up mentality that they've been able to fill into their bottom six continuously, and now Boston is starting to see a little bit of that, and don't be surprised when that comes into handy in the playoffs and is a big factor for this team.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Kevin, they've got some decisions to make when Forbort and Grzelcyk and Clifton are ready, and then up front you've got Frederick is out, Foligno's out. Who am I missing? I think that's it up front.
Yeah. Yes.
So they've got some real decisions to make. Like, I mean, how do you take Oscar Steen out of the lineup?
You can't.
You cannot. Same with Bleed. I can't take him out either.
Yeah. So what do you do? I mean, the logical choice is to waive Carson Kuhlman, send him down to the AHL.
Right.
But what do you do on defense?
Yeah.
They've got some real tricky decisions that they have to make. I mean, you can't send them down to the taxi squad, because if they were on the roster on December 22nd, they're not eligible for the taxi squad.
Mm-hmm.
That's good info right there.
I mean, Forbort you can send to the moon, for my opinion. That's fine by me.
Stop.
I don't know, man.
He's playing really well.
He is, and he by far leads the Bruins in PK time on ice.
Him and Carlo together is magic on that PK.
Yeah.
Fine. He's frustrating, though, to me. Like, I don't know. Something about his game is frustrating to me. The lack of ability to, like, turn his body in tight situations. To be honest, it feels a little bit like Zdeno Chara 2.0. Not as talented.
Can I... Sorry, go ahead. Finish your
No,
thought.
go ahead.
I was just saying, the reason why he's frustrating, probably for the first, half of the season before the break and all that, is because he's being played in a situation he honestly never should have been played in.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What might be frustrating to some fans, but not this panel right now, is the return of Tuukka Rask, and which is making absolute huge news in the organization and around the league. And comes in his first game against Philly last night, gets a 3-2 win. In my honest opinion, I'm a beer league goalie hero. Beer league only, no pro experience. But he looked very comfortable, and like he never missed a day. And you cannot blame those two shots that went past him on the goaltender. The first tip out front, you could tell he was tracking that so well, but when it hit the stick and directly went down and got a fortunate bounce, that's not on him. And the second one, he's going laterally inside the crease there. Well, he's tracking it good, but not able to get all the way across on the other goal that fortunately went in. So, but the 2 points is the 2 points. That's what's most valuable in this situation right now. And the way this team is playing, it's almost like this is just a Kickstarter for this club to really kind of buy in, dig down deep, and find out what you have against teams higher in the standings. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of fans that, I was very high on coming back off of the break and beating the Red Wings and beating Buffalo. And then people would be like, yeah, you got 4 points out of those 2 games, but look who you played. And it's like, who cares? It's 2 points. And they're like, oh, let me know in a week when they play Tampa Bay and they play some really good teams. And
Washington.
Exactly, Washington.
Tampa.
And then on Tuesday, Dom, I came up with the gif of what's his name, looking for something like, where are these people? Like said that you're not going to have a chance to play against Washington and Tampa Bay with this lineup, and then you end up beating them.
Doom and gloomers, man. Doom and gloomers.
Here.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's one thing that you guys have probably noticed, this is on the internet, there are those that will come at you when you're wrong about something, and those that will predict you're going to be wrong, but you don't hear a peep from them when they're the ones that are wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I had a guy today, so speaking of Tuukka Rask, I wrote my I Love Tuukka Rask article this morning, as I do after most Tuukka Rask wins, which is, I know, endlessly obnoxious for certain people. But I had a guy DM me this morning instead of publicly reply to my article and be like, "You're such a homer, I can't read your crap." And I was like, great, 2 things. 1, if you'd like to reply to me publicly, I'll respond to this. And 2, if you don't want to read my crap, quote, don't click on the link. And I'm just like, what? That was a complete and utter waste of my time. He never came back. He's blocked me now. So, I can't even have fun anymore.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, Felicia.
But can I touch on Rask a bit and what you said, Mark? I think his movement was really, really good, especially up and down. So we know the hip surgery is working. His reverse VH, he was great. His lateral movement, there was a few times that he overshot in his positioning, moving laterally, but that's just rust. That's all it is. I don't think people have anything to be concerned about. He looked like vintage Tuukka Rask on those 2 breakaways, did he not?
Oh yeah. Just well positioned.
I know there's a lot of people up in arms worried about Jeremy Swayman and how he's going to react. You just look at the number of games that these top goalies have played in the AHL. Swayman is going to be fine. The biggest difference that Tuukka Rask gives this team is the confidence to the players in front of them, because they know they have a history with Rask back there, and if it's Swayman or Allmark back there that they don't know really that well, they think, well, I better be careful here because I got to protect my goalie. Whereas with Rask, they know what they're getting, and they will take the odd chance when necessary because they have the confidence in them.
Yeah, which kind of really dictates to me why Jeremy Swayman didn't get a lot of time in the playoffs last year. I was corrected today by Mr. Kevin O'Keefe about Jeremy Swayman getting playoff time. I said he didn't get any time at all, but I guess he came in relief. Is that correct?
Yeah,
just a single period, I believe.
Yeah.
So it is a trust factor. It's like a family. It's a bond, and so on. And I know Jeremy Swayman is a part of that, and he's a big part of that, and he's going to be a huge part of this future in net. But my thing is, it's just he's still young. I'm still going to go to the narrative of Carter Hart every time we have this conversation and look at his game. Look what Carter Hart did last night. I didn't think he looked very good at all. But that might be because of a system that was rushed to get him involved. I believe that Ron Hextall was correct in saying, no, he needs more time, when the owner said, no, we need to get him up, and the conflict happened, and then see you later, Ron Hextall.
If Hextall was still GM of that team, who here thinks Carter Hart would have started when he did in the NHL?
I don't think he would have at all.
No hands raised.
The one thing I want to say on the Swayman Rask thing, because obviously I think if people listen to this, I'm going to get a lot of my tweets sent back to me. So I feel like I need to address this head on, which is, yes, I'm absolutely in love with Jeremy Swayman. Yes, I want to see him in the NHL just because I think it's incredibly entertaining. I think his personality's great, and I'm a Hockey East fan, so Jeremy Swayman will have my heart forever. But he's in the right spot for him right now. In terms of career development, in terms of his long-term potential, and to complain about having somebody like Tuukka Rask replace Swayman in net right now is absolutely ridiculous. Like, that is just a straight-up bad take. And, I don't call people out on many of those because it's usually me. So, that's just a straight-up bad take.
But, Andrew, there have been a lot of Tuukka Rask haters over the years, and that's...
It's true. It's why I make a point of being a Tuukka Rask lover to some extent, because it really pisses them off for no reason.
Let me ask you guys this. Who's surprised at the contract?
I'm not.
I'm a little surprised it was that low.
Mark and I are, because we did a podcast, what was it, last week with Brett Harrison?
Yeah, it was we interviewed Boston Bruins third-round prospect Brett Harrison, and right before we recorded, or shortly after, Dom was talking to me. He's like, hey, he's like, I think Rask is going to happen. I'm getting some information about it. And I said, well, what do you think about the money? I mean, he's not going to come back for $7 million. Don Sweeney would be dumb to do that.
Right.
But we would think, I was thinking, maybe $2 million I'm hearing. And so on. Dom's just like, watch it be $1 million.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Honestly, that's the other part I don't understand. You have Tuukka Rask for $1 million in your net.
Yeah.
Even if you're a Tuukka Rask hater, how do you hate $1 million goalie with his stats?
Yeah.
You know what it is, Andrew? Is people are worried about the cap. And I'll tell you what, they just don't understand the cap. Because I wrote about it yesterday. The net difference on trade deadline day between what Rask is costing them the rest of the year and what they save on Jeremy Swayman is $40,000.
Yep.
That's it. Peanuts. Mark can reach into his pocket right now and pull that out in petty change.
Oh, man, Mark, we got to talk after this call.
Dog, that was for proprietary information, my friend. You're not supposed to say that.
Sorry, man.
And another thing, on the Rask, the anti-Rask people too, is one of their biggest gripes with him is not that they think he's a horrible goaltender, it's that they think he's not a clutch goaltender. They think that a team award in a Stanley Cup that takes an entire team to win is solely on a goaltender's shoulders, and if he's not there getting a shutout or doing everything he can to stop every puck possible, including growing another leg, then he sucks, he's a choker, and he's horrible. And I'm sorry to, let all you fans who think this way know this, but it is a team sport. It takes every single one of them from the defense in front of them to the forwards who were putting the puck in the net. It takes everyone to win the Stanley Cup, and unfortunately, that team in 19 did not show up. None of them.
No, they did not. And I mean, the Marchand gaff towards the end of the first period, people don't talk about that.
Of course not.
But to add to that, Kevin, when Tuukka Rask left the bubble, okay, fans hated that. They wanted him gone. But I will tell you, without naming names, there is one person in Bruins upper management that said, that's it, he's done.
Wow. Wow.
And this is upper management. So they almost traded him in 2015 at the draft. They were getting so much flack from trading Lucic and Hamilton that Don Sweeney was like, oh, we better hold on here, because they were talking. There were deals going back and forth because they had Martin Jones at the time.
Yeah.
They thought Jones could run as their number one. Let's see what we can get for Rask.
So that's a great question. So here's the thing. One thing, to the Tuukka Rask haters, the one thing I will give them is Game 6 of the 2013 Stanley Cup Finals.
I won't.
No, I won't either.
I will give them one of those two goals.
I won't. Weren't they both deflections?
Yeah, I believe they were both deflections, but I believe one of them, had he been in the correct position, he potentially would have stopped.
Imagine if the team could have cleared the puck out of the zone.
Okay, again, I'm trying to be the middle ground here.
Screw being the middle ground. We're not middle ground here.
Listen, I hear you, but I'm going to give them that for a second. Now, here's the thing. He's still, statistically, career-wise, your best goaltender in Bruins history. He is by far giving you chances to win in situations you shouldn't have been in games. So you can't pin even a loss on him, even if you're going to argue it was Game 6, the fact that they were in Game 6 had to do with him. So I don't give you him losing the cup to that. I give you maybe that one game maybe, and I'm still hesitant on that.
But I will counter that, though, Andrew.
Sure.
Okay. Every goal scored in the NHL is caused by a mistake.
True.
Somewhere on the ice.
Yep.
Very rarely is it the goalie.
Correct.
But we always point at the goalie.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
You break down those two goals against Chicago, you could find 2 or 3 different mistakes where it wouldn't have even come to Rask.
True.
Okay.
Very true. And again, I don't personally blame Rask for 2013, but that's the argument I hear.
Yeah. Okay.
Another thing to tell these guys too is, okay, let's say they won that game. You're not winning Game 7. You're not winning Game 7. Bergeron had one lung. The team was just not going to do it in Game 7. And if they did, then okay, if that happened, awesome. I mean, I'm thrilled. I'm a Bruins fan. I'm pumped about it. But I mean, I'm 99.9% sure they weren't winning that Game 7.
2019, I blame on me, because I went out of my way to purchase the ticket to the Stanley Cup Finals, and me being there was just a bad plan. I told my whole family at the time that it was a bad plan, and it just happened. I knew it happened.
I was tweeting about that, too, that you took the blame for that.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
So there you go, Rask haters. You don't need to be Rask haters anymore. You can be Andrew Taverna haters.
Yeah.
There you go.
I have 2 rules. You have to have a profile picture, and you have to have a real name if you want to be a hater. That's all I'm asking.
All right. Now I have to jump in here with some story time. So that year, which Andrew did that I went out and bought those beer mugs, Stanley Cups, and then after, I believe, Game 1, when the Bruins they won that first one against St. Louis, correct? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they won Game 1, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, so we were all excited, and we were drinking out of it. And, so when it all melted down and so on, I'm like, Courtney, do you think that might have had something to do with it?
Yes, it is your fault.
See? So, Kevin, we can blame Andrew and Mark.
There you go.
I'm not taking any blame.
Nope, I didn't do anything out of the ordinary, so I got nothing there.
You are out of the ordinary.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
To circle back on the whole goaltending thing with the addition of Tuukka Rask, and unfortunate that a player like Jeremy Swayman does have to go down, but a lot of folks just don't understand the process that's going on here. And Andrew, I'm not pointing at you. I'm not jabbing you at all. I know that you know and you understand, but it's just hard for you to see somebody that you have really high hopes on, going, I totally get it. But this is not a bad thing. I mean, goaltenders generally really get going in their careers in the 26, 27, 28 range. One of the main reasons why Allmark was so attractive was because that is when goaltenders really get hot. So we might have Don Sweeney might have found something, a diamond in the rough with this one, but it was more or less an insurance policy. What was going on to Tuukka Rask and the hip surgery. But the whole Swayman thing, and I totally understand it from a fan's point of view. He's a really good player, promising player, and so on, and deserves NHL time. I'm not gonna deny that. But the way his entry level contract is structured, and with him going down and playing games on the regular and not being the third wheel, which I believe the third wheel should be a veteran goaltender like Grosnick or even Kaiser come up and get some of that experience and practice. But a guy like Swayman needs to be playing all the time. And I really hope that after tonight's game, I have a chance to talk to Ryan Mougenel about the transition for Swayman down there and how he's taking it and how, because I know for a fact that he's going to take this very positive. The conversation with him and Don Sweeney in that office when the stare down happened, I totally get that. That's business and that's the youth player, but I think that it's not going to hinder his development, like so many people are saying, and that he's going to be the next one to ask for a trade because he's on an entry-level deal and he went to the AHL, which happens so many times. It's just kind of crazy how everybody is just kind of jumping at, firing from the hip on this one, thinking that we're going to lose him for something. So I just don't think that that's going to happen. But I just want to point out that this is a good thing. It's our future in goal right now. So let's be patient, like Dom said early. Teams that just have to be patient with their prospects these days, and it's paying dividends, like we're seeing with Zboril, Vakanainen, and we're going to see with Swayman sooner or later.
And he will be back, guys. He will play games in the NHL this year, especially when they've got to play 3 games in 4 nights.
Yeah. And Tuukka Rask, he went up and down between Providence and Boston. I don't know how many times. A lot of times.
10 times.
There you go, 10 times.
10
and
times.
He turned out pretty fine, but yet the Rask haters would probably say, well, yeah, I mean, that's how he became a choker, and his mentality got all messed up because he went back and forth, and now the same's going to happen to Swayman. Wait for it. Or I just started something new.
I was going to say,
out of my sarcasm, I started something new. Damn.
Yeah, you gave them that one, my friend. I'm sorry. I have not heard that a single time until you just said that, and now I'm really unhappy with you.
I'll just laugh at it.
I mean, because Mark, Christmas was a few weeks ago. You don't give out gifts like that.
That's true. I just gave them not only ammo, but an entire just crate of rockets.
Literally a well-formulated argument, which shouldn't be
a thing
that can happen there. But
it's not a well-formulated argument.
The thing I was going to say is listen, I am part of Mark's new shiny toy crew or whatever he calls it. Listen, I am a big, like I said, I'm a big Swayman fan. I watched him a ton in Maine. I think I explicitly said it on the last podcast I was on with Mark, right? He saw more rubber than a condom factory in Maine, and I think he handled all of it really well. It's not hard to argue that more time in Providence is good for him. Goalies take longer to develop. That is a thing.
Yeah. Goalies, then defensemen, then centermen, and lastly wingers.
Yep.
In that order. You want to talk about his attitude, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mark, but I think it was Mark Diver that tweeted out the picture of the 3 Mainers at center ice in Providence.
J.D. Greenway, Edwards Trail Marks, and Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah, so somebody went skating over and he jokingly said, "Get out of here," or it was all in fun and all in jest, and like nobody can tell me that the attitude is wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Moving on to another topic that seems to be gaining a ton of traction is the All-Star game coming up here pretty soon, and the voting is or has been going on, and Patrice Bergeron is going to represent the Boston Bruins, and fittingly so. I think this is going to be a tremendous opportunity for him and his family. Who knows, possibly the last one we see. I don't know. I hope not. I hope he's got enough in him to go another year. I don't know if our friend Dom has any information on Patrice Bergeron and coming back tour.
Nothing.
Bergeron's probably so tight-lipped on that.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like I don't even know his agent to talk to him. Like, I mean, I could talk to a lot of agents, but not Bergie's. And even if I did, he'd probably say, "Shut up, Dom, I'm not telling you." So,
but one player that's not on the roster or the ballot is Brad Marchand, and I wanted to touch on this. More or less, it is what it is. If he didn't want to go anyway, that's up to him. But him not being on there as one of the elite left wingers in the league kind of speaks volumes for me, and I'm kind of wondering if this is kind of like a snub from the NHL for what he said about the Olympic. Curious about your thoughts, everybody. Let's go around the horn, starting with Andrew. On do you think Marchand got snubbed for what he's been saying? And
So there's two things. I don't actually truly understand how the fan vote works if the NHL is dictating the fan vote. Anyways, I think somebody would need to explain that to me a little bit more, but I do think that Marchand has taken a pretty hard line against the league at this point. My understanding of the situation is that teams were asked to make sure that the people who were put up essentially would actually go, and that they want to avoid the one-game suspension that Ovechkin has historically served, right? Like, I think that was part of the conversation, but I guess I don't know the answer to that. My gut instinct would say, yeah, I mean, Marchand probably pissed them off. But I also don't understand then how the fan vote gets involved if, like, the NHL can be like, nah, no. Right? Like, what's the point? I guess I don't know the answer to your question, Mark, but it's baffling to me that Marchand's not at the All-Star game, because not to be like, hot take Andrew over here, which I feel like I am tonight, but like Marchand should be there over Bergeron right now. Just at this point
Agree.
At this point in their career and what they're doing, like, just that's I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin, what are your thoughts?
So I'm not going to reiterate everything Andrew just said because I have like the same thoughts. Instead, I'm going to throw a different thought out there. With the All-Star game, what you see is players like Sidney Crosby. He doesn't want to be a part of it. Ovechkin, there's been times where he hasn't wanted to be a part of it, and I'm sure there's other players out there as well who think to themselves, I don't really want to be a part of this. I'm in the season. I'm geared towards the season. I want to make sure that I'm giving everything in my all to the season and not worrying about an All-Star game. Well, what if you were to, instead of doing the All-Star game in the middle of the season, in January, February time, why not put it in the week before the Stanley Cup Finals, and every player who is not a part of the Stanley Cup Finals can be a part of this as long as they are invited to, kind of like the NFL.
I was going to say, are you Pro Bowling this? Because this
yes, I'm absolutely Pro Bowling this, and it's just it makes so much more sense because then you'd have a player like Sidney Crosby, who maybe he's not in the Stanley Cup Finals, most likely, be like, yeah, okay, I'll be a part of this, and that's huge for the league. Having a guy like Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin and Marchand and other players being on board with your All-Star game and your skills competition.
Not only that, Kevin, I just want to dovetail on what you're talking about, but it also, like, for instance, you said Sidney Crosby, and he accepts to play in that game, but he's also knowing in the back of his mind that if he happens to pull a hamstring during that game, you have the whole off season to recover.
That's the exact reason.
Yeah, it's not like you're going and you're doing it mid-season and so on, getting ready for a playoff run and play and participate in these games and have something unfortunate happen to you, and now you're a piece that probably won't be on a run on a certain contending team. It makes total sense, you know?
Yeah, and the games themselves, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they're boring. I mean, there's zero hitting, which understandably so. I understand why there's no hitting, because you don't want your players injured for the actual season. But say if you were to put it at the end of the season where, you know, there's this whole offseason, I'm not saying you're going to go out there and kill each other, but you can still, you know, you can bump the bodies a little bit in the game and make it more interesting, you know, instead of seeing what we see, which is boring.
Well, before I give you my opinion on Marchand, let me just touch on what Kevin said. I like to go back to what the All-Star game originally was, and that's the Stanley Cup champion versus the All-Stars.
That's awesome.
Now, if you wanted to, here's how you make it interesting. If you really wanted 4 teams, then you have the Stanley Cup finalists play the All-Star team within their own conference, okay? And then the winners match up for the All-Star championship. Imagine Boston playing St. Louis in the Stanley Cup in the Stanley Cup final and losing, and then meeting them at the All-Star game and kicking their ass.
That'd be awesome.
Talk about adding excitement.
Dom, have you thought about working for the league? Because there's nobody over there that can grow the game, and they could really use your help.
Yeah, I've been offered a few jobs within the NHL, and I always turn them down. So, but here's my take on Marchand, and I think it was Kevin that mentioned, or maybe no, I think it was.
I think it was probably Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, that. Marchand probably decided that he wasn't going to play, and they let it be known. Because it isn't the league that picks who goes in it. I believe it's the general managers. So I don't think he's blacklisted by the league. I think Marchand knew this was Bergeron's last, because Andrew said Marchand should be there before Bergeron. I would say McAvoy should be there before Bergeron as well.
True.
And that these two said, look, let's send Bergie. It could be his last kick at the can. We'll take our chance in the fan voting as the, what do they call it? The last man
in, yeah.
And they'll take their, because let's face it, McAvoy's got years ahead of All-Star games coming up. What's this one mean to him? Or same with Marchand. He's got a couple of more in him.
Yeah,
I think it was a respect thing from Bergie saying, no, we're going to back out, let Bergie represent the Bruins.
The whole All-Star game for me nowadays has just kind of been ruined, and I don't mean to be the old man that yells at cloud with the new style of the...
But you are.
Yeah,
Sorry,
shut your face, Andrew. But, you know, the 3-on-3 tournaments are fun and so on, and it really exposes the creativity that the player has, and a lot of fans want to see at these particular festivities. But I still like the idea of keeping it to, you know, the regular structured game of, six players on the ice, playing a regular structured game. No, you know, you're not hitting each other and so on. Show that creativity in tighter ice, much like a regular game situation. You know, if you can show those types of skills with 2 or 3 guys coming at you on a regular basis, then you should be able to do that with 2 or 3 guys kind of lackadaisical hanging out by your side in an all-star game environment. I just think that the games just kind of change a little bit when it comes to that particular moment in the regular season. I could seriously do without the All-Star game, but I do understand that it is a revenue draw, you know, to each city that it goes to and so on.
Is it? I mean, it is, yes. Okay, sorry. That sarcasm was a little too far. Like, yes, it's a revenue draw. I guess my complaint is for something that should grow the game, right, which is what the NHL swears is their objective, it doesn't do enough to do that. And that's the shame.
The skill comp sucks now, too.
Yeah, it's like, go back to the foam. don't deal with technology and lights and so on.
You got Ovechkin running around in furry caps and doing backflips to try to score a breakaway when I just want to see an actual fun breakaway competition instead of whatever the hell they decided is more.
Well, Kevin, the last All-Star game I watched?
Which one?
I never missed the skills competition, but the last game I watched, Ray Bourque, game-winning goal in Boston, MVP. That's the last All-Star game I watched.
Yeah, at the Fleet
Love
Center.
it. Yep.
Can we give a
good old Fleet
Bruce
Center
real quick? I know it's not like Bruce's ad or whatever, but I just want to give a quick shout out to him. I bought 2 Ray Bourque items from him, autographed, and for folks who know me, like Ray Bourque is what grew my love of this game. They're sitting back here right now waiting to be framed, but like I am over the moon excited about that. So I just thought I'd give Bruce a quick.
He's great. I just got a Sean Thornton signed one from him as well. He's awesome.
When you're talking about who drew you to the Bruins, I was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
What?
When they won the Stanley Cup, then a kid named Bobby Orr went to Boston, and that was it.
Thank God.
That's how long I've been around.
Another reason to love Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Why don't we take a quick break and actually hear from Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. He's got some awesome stuff that actually I have right here. This is a Don Marcotte hand-signed jersey that we are going to give away in February. We're doing a Terry O'Reilly this month, so he's got some fantastic stuff like that, hand-signed pictures, pucks, and he deals with all sports in Boston, not just the Boston Bruins. So listen to this commercial, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hey, this is Bruce from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia with our Black and Gold Memorabilia Moment of the Week. We've still got some great memorabilia from our signing with legendary Bruins Hall of Famer Raymond Bourque.
The one was on the table, so I just want to make sure you give it the Hall of Fame. Sorry about that. Do you guys Imagine using that.
Get a Ray Bourque Legend jersey, JSA authenticated, hand-signed by Ray Bourque, starting at just $139. Or choose one of these Hall of Fame 04 inscribed versions for just $159. Choose a hand-signed JSA authenticated Ray Bourque photo, 8x10, $59. Or 16x20 with the Hall of Fame inscription, just $99. Or grab this Bruins hand-signed mini in gold, JSA authenticated, and yours for just $119.
This Monday, January 17th, we're going to be hosting a table at the Cardboard Promotions Show in Peabody, Massachusetts. Come by the Holiday Inn from 8:30 to 2:30 to get some great deals on Bruins memorabilia, to meet Terry O'Reilly, or just to say hello. On January 30th, we're going to be hosting a private signing with Miracle on Ice star, 1980 Olympic hockey gold medalist Dave Silk. We'll have some great memorabilia, including jerseys, pucks, and photos, or we can accept send-ins as well. For more information on our dozens of Bruins hand-signed pieces, check us out at our Facebook page, Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia, or email us directly at bostonsportsandmusic@gmail.com. And be sure to tune in each week right here to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Let's go!
Hey guys, we're back. We just heard from the awesome Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. He's got fantastic stuff, as I always freaking say. And you need to spice up your fan cave. You need more black and gold everywhere. Buy stuff from Bruce. Andrew's done it. Kevin's done it. I've done it. I'm sure Dom's going to do it. So let's get on it and support him all day long. Coming back in hot. And I'm going to give this one to Dom, because Dom's got some information that he shared with us in our pre-show discussion, and he said he wants to talk about it. So, Dom, you have the floor, good sir.
Okay, we're going to talk a little JDB, Jake DeBrusk. we all know there's a lot of rumors out there. As many as a dozen teams were interested or had shown interest. I came out and I mentioned 4 teams that I knew for sure. And Mark, I know people with these teams.
Yep.
The St. Louis Blues were interested. They became disinterested when they went through their COVID protocol, injuries, and couldn't make the cap work no matter what they tried. So they became out. And really, with the way they're playing, why mess with anything, right? At this point of the season. Maybe trade deadline, who knows? The New Jersey Devils, which I haven't heard anything about in the last couple of weeks, and the Chicago Blackhawks, who are in, out, and now back in. There's a lot of talk among Bruins fans when I mentioned Chicago that Dylan Strome would be the one that would be coming back. It's no. It's like, well, they need to make the cap work. No, they don't. Chicago is at about $2.5 million. Anybody watching, just check Cap Friendly. I don't have it in front of me, but they've got $2.5 million in long-term injury reserve space left. DeBrusk is going to cost 3.6 minus whatever he's played this year. They can fit him in. I think Chicago wants to work out a deal where it involves a draft pick. Now, they're not giving up their first for Jake DeBrusk. A second might do it, but it's not going to help Boston this year. And frankly, where's he going to fit in if you want to keep Steen on the roster? Now, the new team, which I heard yesterday that are interested, is the Minnesota Wild. Okay, now the Wild, they've got a bunch of wingers. They really don't have a lot of depth in the event something happens. And I don't think they really want to pay Jake DeBrusk $4.1 million qualifying offer next year. So I think their path to Jake DeBrusk is purely as a rental, not as somebody that they're going to keep beyond this season.
That's interesting.
That's really interesting.
So if you're looking at the Minnesota Wild roster and you had to speculate, Dom, what player could you see the cap working for?
Hold on,
please say Greenway. Please say Greenway. Please say Greenway.
You want 2 Greenways, Mark?
I don't think they're going to give away. I don't think they're going to give away Greenway.
I know. I had to try.
You had to try and will it into existence.
Yes, right.
Holy cow! They got a lot of cat. They're fine. They got $2.3 million in cap space right now. They could easily fit Jake DeBrusk in, who I think at this point of the season, we're almost halfway through in terms of days, not games played. So Jake is going to cost about $2.1 million towards the cap for the remainder of the season. So they can fit him in outright. Now, whether it's a draft pick or whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be a roster player. So if you get a couple of teams bidding draft picks, like obviously Chicago's draft pick would be much better for Boston than Minnesota's draft pick. But what if Minnesota came back and said, okay, we'll give you a second and a fourth, as opposed to Chicago's second?
Well,
so I have a question for you, Kevin, maybe. Right? I think this is going to be right up your alley with some of the stuff you've talked about. So obviously draft picks are helpful. I'm not sure that Bruins fans listening are going to be in love with Don Sweeney having more draft picks. Whether or not that's warranted, I think we could debate. But my question is, do the Bruins need draft picks or a roster player out of DeBrusk more? Not what they're going to get, but what do they need more as a franchise?
I would go with the draft pick because that gives you more cap space to turn around and play with at the deadline, and you can get yourself, if you can get yourself a second round pick, like Dom's saying, possibly could happen, maybe with a fourth attached to it, or maybe even a fifth. I mean, look what Minnesota did with our fifth round pick. So, hey, you never know, So I'd say
thrilling pick there.
And it's a really good draft. It's a really good draft, Kevin. Really,
it is a very good draft. Huge draft. And then 2023 is supposed to be another good one, too. So.
Even better. 2023 is even better.
So I think if you can get a second-round pick with Jake DeBrusk, I think you're doing backflips.
I take it and run. Unless he was part of a bigger deal. I know everybody wants a second-line center, but go back to what Andrew said at the beginning. Work in pairs. Hall is working just fine with Hall and Pasternak.
Yes.
No need to go spend big money and assets on the second line center. Fix that left side D.
Yes.
Bring in a guy who can eat 18, 19, 20 minutes a night and kill penalties.
Yes.
Close out the last minute of a game on a one. I mean, who was out on the ice last night protecting a 1-goal lead?
I can't.
Vakanainen, wasn't he?
Vakanainen and Carlo, was it not?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, but are you going to trust that in the playoffs?
No. Kevin, I think we need to go get some Dom tattoos right after this. Yeah. Right after this episode, because yes.
Dom, can I just?
They could have done is when Nashville was seriously shopping him at the time was Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah. Dom, you're gonna give Kevin a kickstand over here.
You're my new best friend. That's all I can say.
Kevin, another guy I would love to have, and I mean I've been pumping him to Bruins fans for the last 2 years, is Rasmus Anderson out of Calgary.
That's a name I haven't thought of. I haven't thought of that name.
I mean, I watched him a lot in the OHL, and I love the kid, and he's doing great in Calgary. He's a two-way guy too, and he can eat big minutes.
Honestly, and this is going to sound like really smart-ass-ish, which nobody will be surprised to know me, but right? I mean, I literally will take any upgrade at this point on the D. Like, listen, I think it's been impressive what they've done the last 8 games, but you can't tell me come playoff time that these are the guys you want to see taking the ice. Like, they've been great, but I'd still rather something a little more proven come the playoffs.
Right. Well, I mean, they could go. And I know Kevin's going to talk about Klingberg in a minute. They could go the Tampa model, and except opposite side, where Tampa's strong on the left side, and they throw any Joe Schmo on the right side, and it seems to work. Whereas Boston is strong on the right side, and you can throw any Joe Schmo on the left side, except the third pair. If they had that third pair right side guy, then you could do what Tampa's doing. And that's a perfect segue for Kevin to get in here on Klingberg.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, because, to be honest, I never thought of Tampa's defense like that. Being very, very strong one-sided, and then not as strong, obviously, on the other side. I never really thought that. I've always felt like they were so strong everywhere in that defense, and maybe it's just
it's a copycat league, Kevin.
Maybe it's a mirage for Tampa's defense. They're so strong on one side that they're able to take anyone, kind of like how McAvoy is able to take, really anyone, and kind of allow that to work. That's interesting, because what I was about to go into is how we do not need John Klingberg, because of the fact that I would rather get a left shot. I'm going to stay with that stance and say I still would rather them get a left shot, but Would I be angry if they went out and got Klingberg? Absolutely not. He's a good player, and he would help this defense. But if I had a choice, I would want a left shot guy. I don't see them getting a guy like Chychrun. I don't see that happening. It's going to cost way too much. Even though he's a young player with a good cap hit and would make sense for the team, I just don't see Don Sweeney wanting to give up a first or any other really crazy asset at this moment. But Klingberg, he could garner a similar package. I mean, you got to think a first-round pick is going the other way, right?
Somebody will pay that, Kevin. I'm not sure that the Bruins would pay that.
Right.
Especially for a guy who's going to be a rental because, everybody's throwing numbers out there. He's looking for $8.5 million a year. So, you end up then being the Maple Leafs only on defense. Mm-hmm. Where you're paying two. When they first come out with the cap back in 2005.
Yep.
I was one of the first people out there to break the cap down and suggest you have to work in percentages. X percentage goes towards your forwards, X percentage towards your defensemen, and X towards your goalies. And then, by a few years ago, Cap Friendly started breaking it down like that, and everybody's talking about it now. So I just don't think you can pay two defensemen $9 million average between two of them. It just
absolutely.
You just weaken your front.
And I think that's why Chychrun would be such a good get for this team, because for the next few years he's making 4.1 towards the books.
So here's the thing about him. So here's the question that I've heard lots of fans ask, and I'm actually not sure I get that angry when I hear it. But you're saying, right, you'd have to give up the first
for Chychrun?
Yeah,
absolutely,
right, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
you're giving that up if you even have a high enough first round pick to entice somebody out of that gate, right?
Andrew, they're even talking about it could be a 2022 first and a 2023 first.
Okay, so hear me out still though, because I think you're going to have some fan base some small portion of the fan base complain about Don Sweeney's drafting ability and say that they're willing to pay it.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying that I agree with that, but what I'm saying is, what is the maximum you're willing to pay to bring back that contract?
I'm
not saying you can. I'm saying what's the max you would. Somebody else is going to outbid you, but what's the max the Boston Bruins put on the table for that player?
So what do I think Don Sweeney would do as an offer?
Yes.
I'm guessing he would go with probably 2 second-round picks, and then you're looking at Lascelles, probably Mason Lohrei,
you're
Stanika. You're probably looking at something like that. If you're not giving, it is a lot, and they're going to command a lot. I mean, I think Merrick was the one who came out and said, let me know if I'm wrong, that the asking price was a first-round pick, a high-end draft pick. A high-end prospect, and a young roster player.
Yeah, you're correct.
And if that's the case, you're looking at a first-round pick, you're looking at Lascelles, and you're looking at probably Carlo. I don't think DeBrusk would get it done.
No, I'm not saying DeBrusk would get it done.
But, Kevin, they do have to take salary back because they've got, I think, 5 guys signed for next year, and they have to reach the floor.
Right. So maybe you're looking at 2 players opposed to just 1. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, they have to find salary somewhere.
Right.
So, because I don't know what it's going to cost, but everybody's my witness now. If the Bruins get Jacob Chychrun, Kevin, this is for you because you want him. I have a Sarnia Sting jersey signed by him and all of his teammates in his last year in Sarnia. And if the Bruins end up with Jacob Chychrun, I will message you. You send me your address, and I will send it to you.
Wow.
Wow, this just...
All right, Don, let's go. Let's go, Don.
I just... Jacob Chychrun, A, because he's a good hockey player, B, the contract for, what is it, Mark, 2 more years?
Three
3 more years after this.
That's why the asking price is so high right now.
That's why the asking price is so high.
Justifiably so.
Yeah,
just the contract alone is worth a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, add in the type of player he is, you know, I just don't... A, I don't think Donnie Sweeney will do it, and B, I don't think the Bruins can afford to do it because, as Kevin said, I want the draft picks. And as bad as 2015 was, 2021 was a great... Mark knows how much I love Brett Harrison. Brett Harrison
love him.
Is a second first-round pick.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
If the OHL season was not canceled, he would have been a late first-round pick.
I'd go as far as saying...
The other kid in Sweden, Oscar Jelvik.
Oh, yeah.
Love the kid.
Yep.
Man, going to Boston College next year?
Yep.
Or BU? I can't remember. I get
one of them. I think it's BC.
I think it's BC, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to play with
Canadian, so I'm allowed to mix them up. So,
I just remember being so excited about that
I'm from
draft.
Boston, and I'm still allowed to mix them up because what the hell's the difference? It's the bean pot, no?
Yeah. So, so I'm not worried. And I think it was you and I that talked about it long ago, Mark. What I thought of the drafting the Bruins scouts. I hate naming his name because people are going to jump on me, but
don't do it.
I think Don Sweeney put too much faith in PJ Axelson, and PJ Axelson had a lot of sway and a lot of pull, over the years. But last year, Lysell, it wasn't just Axelson. Everybody was on board with Lysell being a pick. So it wasn't Axelson, but when they picked Harrison, you could tell, hey, they're moving away from PJ. They're starting to listen to everybody. They're even when you look at Langenbrunner, Ryan Nadeau, having more, well, he's the head of scouting now, but I think Don Sweeney just put too much faith into PJ Axelson, and last year we saw the trend change, and it was more of it was cohesive, but it was a group thing as well. Yeah. It wasn't just, hey, I know this guy, Bob Weddick, who I love, the OHL scout, was a scout with the North Bay Battalion for years before the Bruins lured him away. But he didn't have the trust. Nobody knew who he was in Boston, so his word didn't mean anything.
That's one thing I really liked about this freaking draft, Dom, is the coverage that they did worldwide, and it's good, great to have prospects like Ryan Mast and Brett Harrison, and even though he wasn't drafted out of the WHL, from the Vancouver Giants, Fabian Lysell. There's now a Canadian Hockey League presence back again that we haven't really seen since a lot of that 2015, draft.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I love me some PJs for PJ, but it's been a long time since we've had another voice in the room.
Yeah.
And Dom, to touch back on Harrison real quick, do you see him having a higher ceiling than Studnicka?
Yes.
I agree. 100% agree.
That's a tough comparison.
Let me put it this way. I think Brett Harrison has the higher offensive ability. The kid can shoot. I think Mark knows. I asked him straight out, "Are you?" Yep. Because people ask me to explain, "Are you a shooter or a passer?" And I say, "Well, you're both, Brett. It depends on who you're playing with. Give me your thoughts. And he agreed, right, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
I think Harrison has the higher offensive ability. I think Stanika will be the better two-way player.
Okay.
And Brett was telling me on the interview that Dom and I had with him that he's a big fan of coming off the cycle and having somebody drop past and just unload a cannon like the top of the circle.
He has a wicked shot.
Yeah, or even closer to the hash marks, man.
So I listened to that episode, but I think, and this may sway me slightly in my opinion here, but I think Harrison could be the highest value pick like Lysell was drafted approximately where I think he should have been.
Right.
I think Harrison could potentially be the highest upside pick out of that draft. Like, you got him in the best position for how much he's going to return. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I think you guys get
Andrew, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, because I know just about every OHL general manager that there is. And I can pick up the phone and call them at any time. And they all said to me, he's the steal of the draft.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't he one of 3 players who were allowed into the league early, and he had, like, how many goals?
No,
he didn't have what do you call it?
Exceptional status.
Okay, yeah, but I think the year that he came in, his rookie year, I think he was up there in scoring with Shane Wright.
He was third with, I think it was 22 goals in his rookie season, which is amazing in the OHL.
And that was up there with Shane Wright, and I forget the other name.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I'd have to too, but Shane Wright's the one that stands out, obviously.
Touching back on what Andrew was saying about Lysell, let me tell you something, and I think you know this already, Andrew, and I know Dom know this, and I believe Kevin does too. In a regular world, no pandemic, nothing, scouts can be in the buildings and fly everywhere. Lysell goes lower than where he was picked.
Top 10.
Is that I mean, can I say that is almost a guarantee?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's close to where he would have been. I don't know.
I think he's close too.
Okay,
I agree.
All right, that's fair.
I get in the round. When you say close, you're within 3 picks either way.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the pure. So here's the thing. Like, I really like that pick because I think it gives you a flair, maybe for lack of a better word, that you don't often see the Bruins like value. I guess, right? Like, Pasta's the last flair style player I think the Bruins have really valued, and I think that potentially is that style of pick, which in terms of if I'm the Jacobs family and I want to sell tickets, like, that's really important. But I also think from other teams fearing your offense, that's also important. Like, you can have hardworking, gritty two-way players who are going to do everything right, and that may not, while that should scare you more, as a fan, it may not be as exciting, I guess, is the word I would use. So I think if you can balance, like this last year's draft, I think several people have said it, right? Like, it's the best draft in a long time. Like, I think part of that is because they built a balanced draft. They took different types of people that were needed for different purposes.
Yeah, and one of the things I like, too, is they took the best player available in the first round. They didn't really
He wasn't a reach. He wasn't a reach. Exactly, Kevin.
They didn't reach for a position.
Right. He wasn't a reach. Harrison fell to them. You know, who was the 3rd round pick?
That was the 3rd round pick, Harrison.
I mean the 4th round pick.
Oh God, wasn't that goaltender? Was it? No, he was the 5th, wasn't he?
Spedback.
No, it was yeah.
He was 4th.
No, it was Spedback.
Now, unfortunately, the kid's injured. He's missed. I don't know. He hasn't played in over a month, but
so that's confirmed now, huh, Dom?
Yeah, he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be like Swayman and face a lot of rubber in the USHL this year, and I don't know when he's going to be back.
Going to Providence next year.
Yeah, a lot of promise in that kid.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, Yelvik, who I talked about, kid's awesome. Really, really shocked the hell of me at how well he's doing. I was not expecting that. Gasso, who's going to, which school is he going to next year?
Boston
Mark?
College.
He's going to BC too?
Oh yeah, Gasso, Yelovic, and freaking Trevor Kuntar. Ooh.
Yeah.
Scout's gonna love that because it's so close.
As a UMass Bull fan, I'm just saying I freaking hate it.
Well, this kid's going to turn out to be a really good power forward. I think he's got the. I think he's like. What's that? Yeah.
I've been watching the Fargo Force a lot.
Yeah.
Him and Mason Langenbrunner.
Yeah, and Langenbrunner
got his first goal the other night.
Yeah, and like he's playing in all situations and everything, and people were like, what do they call it when you end up drafting a family member? It's like, oh, it's the old boys club. They're drafting so-and-so's nephew or so-and-so's son. But this kid can play. I've watched just about every one of his games, and he's really, really impressive. Now, he's the guy they got with the Leafs pick, right? No.
Wasn't that Mast who they got with the Leafs pick, maybe?
No. Mast went 6th round, right?
I thought he was 7th for some reason.
No, 7th.
Oh, I'm trying to think now. I don't have anything up on.
Yeah, we don't even have this in front of us yet.
Yeah.
We're just going off the top of the head on it.
Jeez, my memory. You guys are still young compared to me. You shouldn't be forgetting things like I do.
It's that side. No, it's that side. That's all the young crew.
I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting everything. I'm actually over here right now Googling the 2 lone players that are going to actually play at UMass Lowell. And just feeling sad when I scroll up and look at the BCBU list.
Right.
Speaking of Ryan Mast, though, how do you feel about Ryan Mast in that pick?
Well, I've been trying to work on getting him on a podcast with Mark.
Yeah.
Because I think he'd be an interesting person to talk to. I've talked to him, just not on a podcast. He's a big fan of Brandon Carlo. He models his game after Carlo. Shutdown is his I think where he's going to be his bread and butter. But the thing about Mass coming into this year, because he missed the whole year last year too, was people who had watched him the year before said, well, this guy's got some untapped offensive potential. And really, I don't know what to make of it, because right now he's got 4 goals, 9 assists, 13 points in 27 games, which isn't bad.
No,
considering it's really his second year in the OHL. He's an alternate captain. He shows leadership on the bench, on the ice. I've watched him enough times. I just don't know what to make of his offensive potential. Now, Mark, I know you've watched him a lot.
Yep.
He's got a really, really strange skating technique. His feet are fine, but he's almost like this when he's skating out. I don't know if it's because he's so big or what it is, but he's literally almost at a 45 or 90 degree angle when he's skating. He's that crouched over.
Yeah,
but he beats people, Kevin.
Yeah. It's
people like
it's
that.
so weird how it happens because it looks so awkward. But if he can work with Coach Kim Brandvold on something like that, another development camp, because I really believe that affects that first push, that first big stride. That really gets you off and running if you're in an awkward position like that, if that makes sense. But those are things that can be worked on. It's a work in progress when at this level of development in the Ontario Hockey League with the Sarnia Sting. But as he progresses, I just think that he can work on stuff like that. But his size is just that's something that's going to be a value no matter.
Well, I was going to say,
level.
so at development camp this year, right? I think I went to. I don't even know how many days I went
you went
to.
To all 4 days, didn't you?
Yeah, like so I went to a lot of development camp. Like the strength and size, right? Like just the sheer ability to move that size body on skates. If you can get pieces of your game together, you're going to be a valuable shutdown defenseman in
Andrew,
the NHL.
he can literally skate through a whole team. I don't know how he does it. I really don't. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if this guy could just at least change the way he skates, I don't, because he plays in all situations. He's a PKer. He works the point on the power play. He's got an awesome shot. He's a great leader. Sarnia is a bad team, so don't pay too much attention to plus minus, but he knows how to shut people down. He can mix it up. It's funny that he looks to Brandon Carlo to see, like he watches a lot of video. This much I know. He watches a lot of video on Carlo to see when to be physical and when not to be physical. If I'm going to be a physical player, Brandon Carlo would be the last person I looked at. But but he can be nasty. And nobody wants to mess with him. If there's a scrum or anything, nobody wants a part of him. They just skate away.
Everything that you're mentioning right now, the only name that keeps sticking in my mind, I know he won't be this, but Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
Everything you're naming off just sounds like the player he was.
Yeah, from the skating to everything.
Everything. Big body, guy you don't want to mix it up with. He was on the point for the power play with his rocket of a slap shot. He could be in the PK, all situations.
It's funny that when you look at trends of this Boston Bruins organization and how they develop and so on, and when they want to address size, it's like, all right, so we had Zdeno Chara, and then they drafted Wiley Sherman, a big kid out of Harvard, which just didn't work out. Unfortunately,
what a name!
He went on to go. Yeah, I know, right?
That's a great name,
Wiley Sherman.
But now they did it again with the free agent signing of Nick Wolf. Wolf did do okay last season in his first year with Providence and earned himself another entry level, another contract this season, and has definitely played much better. But I just don't see him cracking the lineup, even though he's a big-bodied type of guy.
He doesn't skate good enough, Mark.
No, I don't believe so either.
But Mast, I think you'll agree, is a much better skater.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just he looks awkward when he's skating.
Exactly. Definitely more mobile.
So I have two things from that. Two questions, I guess, and I guess this is for either Mark or Don probably, but like, so Nick Wolf, I want to be really high on. Like, I like the concept of him. Is he ever gonna give me anything at the NHL level, or am I too hopeful?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the way the landscape is right now, when you look at like a website like Cat Friendly or Puckpedia, and you see what we already have in store and what it could be in the future, I don't believe so. I just think that he's another big body that they wanted to get in because they constantly trying to address the physicality on the back end, and they see a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", and they're like, let's take a chance on him. Especially Nick Wolf, that signed as a free agent right out of college, winning back-to-back national champions and championships. And if I'm not mistaken, his last year he was a captain. So there's a bit of leadership right there too with the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but you still have to have that mix of big bodiness and those small mobile defensemen, and traditionally
you also need those guys in the AHL, Mark, to work with your younger guys that you bring in the future, which is why Cross was so valuable to the Bruins down in the AHL. So is he a career AHLer? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, that's what I'm leaning towards. But that doesn't mean some team wouldn't give him a chance. I just don't think it's going to be in Boston.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then my second part of that question, and I'm going to knock on every piece of wood I have in my office right now, but Brandon Carlo, and the injury potential of Brandon Carlo. And we were talking about, I think, awkwardness and like skating and like protecting yourself and your big body in tough situations. Like, is there a way to coach Brandon Carlo out of putting himself in those situations that he gets hurt?
I think we're already seeing it, Andrew.
Okay.
I think we're already seeing it. Just his approach to the game when he's going back to retrieve pucks, he's skating harder. He's looking around. If you watch him when he's heading back to his to the boards in his own zone, he's taking that look over his shoulder to see where everybody is. He's moving the puck fast, and he's a lot more involved offensively than he ever was. So I think they've worked on it with him already on the skating. Kevin Dean is excellent with defensemen. I think he's a superb coach for defensemen.
Great replacement for Doug Huda.
Yeah. I think, and even Cassidy was a defenseman. So I think they've worked with him on where to pick your spots, be cognizant or aware of everything that's going on around you. Don't be afraid to take that extra, because when he got concussed last year, all you saw was him just skating back. He had no idea anybody was around him or near him.
But I know one thing, Dom, about Brandon Carlo, and what I like about him now is he's less showing everybody the numbers when he's doing the puck protection, so on. The numbers aren't being shown, which is always going to put a player in a vulnerable area.
Andrew, just pay attention to him tomorrow. You watch when he's skating back. He'll take that look over his shoulder.
I will do that.
Mark and I definitely will be during the Black and Gold Hockey Live that we'll be doing.
We're doing a live, not a podcast, but it's a live stream tomorrow of the complete game against Nashville tomorrow. We're going to be checking out one defenseman that I'm very high on that used to go to BU is Dante Favaro. Ooh, I'd like to see him and McAvoy work together.
What time's the game tomorrow?
1 p.m.
The Bruins almost took him before McAvoy.
I know. Yeah. I know. I watched him a lot with the Penticton V's in the BCHL, so I was really high on him. I actually had him over McAvoy, and I got crucified for it. But
well, a lot of people had him over McAvoy. It's just I don't know. The draft is a crapshoot. I want to give Kevin a name because he loves names. It is a guy out of the Ontario Hockey League with the Mississauga Steelheads. Is a first rounder. He'll go in the first round. How high, I don't know. But remember this name, Luca Del Bel Belouse.
Jesus.
Wow. I don't even know how to write that down.
Sweetie, if you're listening, take notes. That's your guy.
Don't put me in a mind pretzel right there.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it started with. Was it Luke?
Luca. Luca. Del, capital D-E-L.
Luca Del.
Bell, capital B-E-L. Belouse, capital B-U-L-L-U-Z.
Luca, I already don't remember, but it's fantastic.
Best name in hockey, man. I hope the Bruins. I just want to have Jack Edwards call a Bruins game.
No, I don't.
And just once have Jack Edwards call a Bruins game and see how many times he screws up that name.
Knowing him, probably zero. That guy is so good with names. Very rarely is he stumped.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I watched the Mississauga announcers on the televised Mississauga games, and even they stutter through his name.
Dom, you should get a YouTube video up of just a reel of people messing his name up, and that'd be fantastic.
If I could, I would. If I knew how.
Send the clips to Andrew. He knows how.
I might be willing to help you with that.
Yeah.
I can do some pretty serious video editing, so I might be willing to help with that.
Okay. I got one quick question for the three of you before you move on, because I tweeted it this morning.
One more. We're going to end the program.
It had something to the effect of within striking distance or within their sights and the Toronto Maple Leaf logo. They're 5 points back with 2 games in hand, 3 games to play with the Leafs yet. Do they catch them or don't they?
Who wants to start?
Andrew, go ahead.
No, Kevin, go ahead. I want to hear your point of view.
Sure. They absolutely catch them. You want to know why? Because the Leafs love to choke everything away.
I don't think they do, because I think they've got to choke in the first round.
They still can.
Well, yeah.
Fair enough.
Mark?
I think the Bees catch them.
You do?
Yeah. I think that they're the hottest team in the Atlantic right now. 7-3-0 in the last 10. Toronto 6-3-1. Oh yeah, I think they catch them. I'm riding this pony.
Okay. I feel better now.
So you think the same? You think they'll end up catching them?
I think they will. I think they will.
I'm not sure about Florida and Tampa Bay or anything like that, but I think the third position is definitely
Tampa. Maybe I don't know about Florida though.
Yeah, because they won't catch Florida. I think they'll give Tampa a run for their money.
Right. Ooh. I agree with that.
You got the standings in front of you, Mark?
I do, sir.
How many points behind are they?
Oh, you're giving the math guy the freaking points thing? All right, so the Bruins have 44, and the Tampa Bay Lightning have 55. That's 10 from my
11
high school
points.
math.
11 points. How many games has Tampa played?
5 more, I believe.
They have 39 games played. The Bruins have played 34.
So 5 games in hand.
Yep.
2 points per game, 11 points back.
They're 1
Here's
point.
the catch. Where the schedule gets tougher now, okay, and busier for everybody, Tampa Bay has 1 goaltender. The Bruins have 3.
Love that.
Nicely played, sir. Nicely played.
So, I agree with Kevin. I don't think they're catching Florida because I think Florida has 3 games in hand on Tampa as well.
Yeah, I think they played how many games now? If you still have it in front of you, Mark, is it 33 or
that?
34? Florida, I think it's 34.
36.
Oh, they played 36.
Yes.
Yeah, so 3 games in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see
nobody's
them.
catching Florida.
No, I don't think so at all.
No.
Yeah, if I could ask one more question for Dom before we end things. Who on this team, whether it's, prospect-wise or even a player who may have just, shown some worth in the Bruins lineup, who are the Bruins looking at using towards a potential trade in a package? Is there any players that you've heard that they could be shopping? Yes.
Well, I can tell you in talking to somebody pretty high up in, I won't name the team, high up in one organization, not the Bruins. I asked him maybe 6-8 weeks ago, what is Euro Vakanainen's value? And his response to me was, do they still do 9 rounds in the draft?
Oh, jeez.
Which basically means 0. Okay? But if Vakanainen can throw in or get in, let's say, 12 games and do what he's doing now.
Call him again. Ask him the same question.
I'll call him again and say, hey, what do you think now, right?
Yeah.
I think he needs to play in a good 15, 20 games to get some trade value out of him. And if he does that, then he would be a trade chip for the Bruins. Obviously, you're not moving any of your top 6.
Mm-hmm.
Coyle has a no movement clause. He's not going unless he wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
Foligno, they just signed him and we know how far Bergie went to bat to get him there.
Yep.
They're not going to trade him. Steen doing what he's doing has value, but I wouldn't trade him.
Agreed.
And your fourth liners, Trent Frederick might be enticing to some teams, especially St. Louis, but I don't know whether they'd go there, but Nosek isn't going to get you much in a trade, even as part of a package.
I don't want him going anywhere anyway. He's perfect for that fourth.
And same with Lazar. I put Lazar. A lot of people don't like Lazar, but I think he's playing great.
Oh, yeah.
For what a fourth liner is supposed to do, those two are fantastic.
And I think Bleed's a perfect complementary piece for them. It's fantastic to watch.
Which means, okay, you guys put your Don Sweeney hat. You're waving Carson Kuhlman to keep Bleed and Steen.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. The only person I'm replacing on that roster is DeBrusk when and if he moves. And that's where Don Sweeney may have to look outside of the organization if, unless Foligno just goes there. But I don't know if he's thinking of maybe more of a scoring threat to go alongside Coyle and maybe drop a Foligno down, which means one person would be out on that fourth. If honestly, if you asked me today, if Foligno went down to the fourth line and it was between Bleed and Lazar and who was sitting, it's Lazar. I value what Bleed's doing, and I think he's going to be...
So do I, Kevin, but you got to think Foligno is much better on his left side than he is on his right side.
True.
And he hasn't gotten that shot in Boston.
True. Very true.
Good points. All right, boys. I think that's going to end up being the show for the interviews, at least. This roundtable has been absolutely amazing. I truly appreciate your time, and I'm sorry for keeping you a little longer, Andrew and Kevin, and obviously Dom. Truly appreciate this. This has been a lot of fun, and you can't wait to do this again. I love this stuff because it's just relaxed Boston Bruins talk from four passionate fans. Wish we can get some more folks on here, but maybe we'll do that next week. But definitely be involved tomorrow when we do the live stream. So, Kevin, I'll see you then.
Absolutely.
And again, thank you so much, guys, for coming. I really appreciate it, and you're all the best.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Great time.
Talk soon, guys.
All right, and that is it for this week's podcast. I do want to thank so many great folks that were a part of this. Dom Tiano for joining us. I truly appreciate him and his insight and knowledge. Kevin O'Keefe from the Beehive Hockey Podcast, and also Andrew Taverna from blackandgoldhockey.com. Excellent people, and I had a lot of fun. I cannot wait to do that. It was really cool to get Andrew back into on the pod waves after a bit of health issues, but we hope that he continues on the right path to get better, and it was just a lot of fun. So with that being said, let's get right to the Patreon. We haven't been doing the Patreon consistently, and I do apologize for that. We just a little busy and caught up in a lot of things going on. But I do want to mention that Krista P, Bob Harrop, Marlene Daniels, and Michelle Grimm have been the winners the last 4 weeks of of our weekly giveaways. So I will be sending signed pucks from the Bruins alumni, current players, to those four great individuals who financially support us at our Black and Gold Productions Patreon account. And if you do want to be a part of that Patreon account, check out the patreon.com/Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. And donate $1, folks, and for your opportunity to win weekly prizes on every week we do a podcast. And the hand-signed jersey giveaways are really good. And for the month of February, which we are in right now, and probably I'm going to be giving this away soon, but it is a Terry O'Reilly hand-signed, fully authenticated jersey. Awesome stuff here from Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. And now that, since I have it out, I might as well show you this one, which is going to be given away for February of 2022. This is a Don Marcotte. It's 1970, 1972 hand-signed jersey, fully authenticated again from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. Just for $1, folks. That's it. So I've already said the winners, and I've already done the jerseys. So thank you very much. Please financially support us if you can. If not, please share or retweet or whatever our program. We would certainly appreciate that. I want to thank everybody for the support as usual. And like I said, we'll be back next week with Heather to get another show out, talk about the recent games from the Boston Bruins, who have been on a wagon since the 2-week break and playing very well. So with that being said, this is episode 261. Thank you to everybody involved. I truly appreciate the support and everything like that, trying to get this out. We'll be back next Tuesday night to record another pod. So thank you very much and talk soon.
Thanks again for listening to and supporting the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please share the show with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to and leave a 5-star rating for the show on your favorite podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Between shows, help us keep the Bruins talk going by visiting our website, blackandgoldhockey.com, by sending an email to blackandgoldhockeyblog@gmail.com, and by following the show on Twitter @blackandgoldpod.
Peace out.